Welcome to Smart Gamer Network Town Hall. I am here with Malice. Welcome back, Zeb. Fox, good to see you. And Velik, shiny as always. My friends from many different communities here, welcome. One of the topics that has been requested as of late and or kind of suggested quite a bit to me, strangely enough, has been anxiety for gamers within gaming. Whether that's in a position of leadership or whether that's in just a gamer themselves. Sometimes gamers go to games to escape from the social anxiety. Sometimes gaming itself causes social anxiety. So, what does that look like within our communities? How do you deal with it? And how can we help other people with that? So, Fox, I'm going to throw this at you first. Do you deal with this in your group? Do you deal with this personally, this idea of social anxiety in gaming?
For social anxiety in gaming, not so much. But the more so the anxiety I see, even when in myself, is more towards PvP before a match or during a match or after a match, after if we've lost and whatnot, and the shaking of it. That's pretty much as far as social. We do have the people that are introverted and don't talk anyways. So I would imagine they get some kind of anxiety, or they would. We have a new person that covers up their voice with like one of those audio tuner softwares. So I'd imagine they have some kind of anxiety. I mean, unless it's like a celebrity playing with us, which is very unlikely. So yeah, not so much.
So you don't deal with it personally at all? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh no, for me, I deal with anxiety a lot, especially during a PvP. I start getting the jitters, and people start looking to me like what to do, or they start kind of running around in left, right, and center direction, and like doing their own thing, and that to be kind of corralled. And it's up to me to say the right thing at the right time to get the right people doing the right thing and making the right call. Because if it fails, then it's my fault. If it succeeds, it's a team victory, right? So that it gives me huge anxiety. I get the shakes, like my hands start to shake. I start getting sweaty. I'm like, oh god. And some people can physically hear it in my voice, and they're like, "Yo, Shavak, Fox, man, you need to calm down." Like, whoa, like, are you okay over there? It's just a game, and I'm like, ah.
Um, in communities, typically around the release of a game, will the game be? I mean, you can do a lot of prelim on the information. Uh, Twitch users like ourselves that get bonus information. You can provide them with all the information they want, but still, the release of a game is a high point of tension for any community. In that point, you have to provide support. You have to provide leadership, and you have to provide confidence.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for. You're there to enhance their fun, and anything you can do to do that is pretty much expected of you.
Do you have people that actually stress out to the point that they end up not being able to play the game?
Probably, but not that they say that publicly. I'm willing to bet there's a few, typically in every group, but not publicly. No.
Fair enough. Bellic?
I can definitely speak to this on a bit of a personal level, not on an extreme, not like a social anxiety to the point of breaking down or not being able to engage with people, and certainly nothing on a diagnosable or life altering degree. But I am a sort of a odd duck, and kind of intentionally chose my attire a little bit for today.
You related to ducks? Never.
Because I'm an odd mixture of someone who is very introverted, who does not really. I don't feed off engagements with other people, and I do kind of obsess over them a little bit and get neurotic about it and really anxious about engaging with other people. But I also enjoy the attention. And so I tend to be a bit more dynamic. Like my normal attire when I go out is a little bit fancy boy. I don't have
a
lot of blue
vest?
jeans and stuff. I wear like slacks and stuff to go out. I like vests, not like sweater vests, but like actual vests and stuff, and things like that. And so like on a gaming level, one of the reasons that I got, well, actually, I won't even say this was a reason, but it was more of a side effect of, when I joined my gaming community about 11, 12 years ago. I played MMOs, and I very much do believe that MMOs are a multiplayer experience. If you're going in and you're just soloing all the time, and the MMOs are catering just to solo players and stuff too heavily, it bothers me because I'm like, it's supposed to be a multiplayer experience. But on the same time, I'm kind of a hypocrite because if I go, most of my time spent in MMOs is spent soloing. I don't necessarily expect them to cater to my ability to solo, but when I go in there and I'm like, oh, I should get a group to do this content or to do this PvP event or whatever, I then go, oh, but I have to talk to strange people on the internet and I don't want to do that. Oh, and then if I do get a group, like even if I'm playing something like Overwatch where you blatantly have to get in a group, I don't want to use group chat most of the time. I don't want to get in there and queue up. I just want to play the game, and I'll even listen to them but not talk. And sometimes it's very difficult to get up the energy to want to talk to strange people. And so I kind of either have to work myself up to it, or I have to kind of get in there and just make myself do it. And that is something that I am able to do, fortunately, because I am in not just a leadership role in gaming for my guild, but also in my work.
Pardon me, gentlemen.
so
I have a child screaming upstairs, so I'll be back.
All right. Okay. And by the way, Jimmy Chan, thanks for the follow.
Nice.
And so fortunately, I do have the ability to force myself to be outgoing, because in a situation where I know I have to, and to take lead and to do things. And that's kind of a consequence of joining a gaming community like 12 years ago. I found that it's much easier to be social and to get in groups and everything when you already know the people, and when you have established relationships. So that's one of the really good things about being in like a big gaming community that I found over the years, that, I do a lot more group content now than I did 10, 12 years ago, because 10, 12 years ago, I didn't have, this kind of established support network of a gaming community of people who would do group content with me. And I could feel confident going like, hey, you all want to do group content because you all want to do this RVR match or whatever, because we're all here for that. And so I do think there's a big difference in facing some of that stuff solo versus being in kind of an established guild. But then there's a lot of social anxiety in just approaching joining the guild in the first place.
It's true.
Yeah.
Malice, what does this look like? Do you guys even have social anxiety in Plague? I mean, come on.
I am gonna put this interesting one out there. We had one of our now fairly long term members. They did not speak in Discord at all for over a year. They listened, but they never said anything. Now that they've finally gotten comfortable with the guild and everything, it took them a year, mind you. They now go to our guild cookouts, do everything like that, and you can't shut them up on Discord. But it took them a year to feel really comfortable, like doing anything but text chatting with us, which I thought was very interesting. There was a little weird social anxiety thing going on with just that relationship and getting to know people, because they were a type of person who they think they'd get into a good guild and then the guild would fall apart. They get to know people or whatever like that. So they're like, they felt that their relationships kept like just crumbling, and like, so they didn't want to get too attached. That was like the whole thing. I said, they just want to get too attached. And, after a year, then they finally broke down, and now they are in Discord chit-chatting all the time. So that's pretty cool. As far as in general social anxiety, the people that we tend to recruit are brash assholes who want to murder people. So like, they tend to be a little bit different personality.
That goes on gray on the bumper sticker. Let me tell you. Are you a brash asshole that wants to kill somebody? Talk to me.
www.the
brass asshole on board.
All right.
Circle.
There are also a lot of people that talk smack in public channels, do all kinds of crazy stuff. So we kind of bring a different personality out there. But that doesn't mean like oh my God, like you will hear me. If you look up Plague on YouTube and look for some of our old PvP videos, there's some with my voice in there. And you can hear my voice like cracking because I'm just like in that like got so much adrenaline going through my system that I'm just like it's almost like an anxiety attack. And you're just like it's like get the hell on this, do this, you know, and like like you could just hear it in my voice, and it was like, whoa, I need to bring it down a notch, you know, deep breath, breathe more, you know.
So I have some people in my community that like they'll talk to me because they've known me longer than maybe some others in the community. Is generally the first person that they start to talk to when they enter the community is usually a leader, and typically that's me or somebody else. But they'll jump into a Discord channel and they'll mute their mic, just like what Malice was having for the longest time. And I don't know if it's because they're just nervous about people hearing their voice. I don't know if it's nervous about, I don't know if what I'm going to say is going to be made fun of by the group because I don't know these people. But it's that kind of anxiety that's like, okay, how do we help a person like that get more comfortable? Is it solely a time thing? Is it being purposeful in our positions as leadership to say, hey, come and join the group, and hey, you know, how do you get them to talk?
It's being deliberate in the manner in which you approach this individual person in relation to the group. Trying to include them forcefully is a mistake, but encouraging them to join in on conversations privately. Hey, this person was talking about this in chat the other night. I think you might want to talk to that person. You know, that sort of thing. Kind of spurring on communication in your group.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you want to do is try to encourage, you know, give them as many opportunities as you can without harassing them. You know, I have, you know, in my Discord from my guild, I have some channels and stuff where you can, you know, people can post if they're looking for groups and things for various different games. So I think trying to help people publicize what they're doing, but also and try to provide some social events so people can group up and just or just hang out in Discord and stuff. And reaching out to those people occasionally and encouraging them to attend is great. Sometimes, but it's going to vary greatly depending on the person. And sometimes it is a matter of just time, letting them kind of come out on their own a little bit, because I think the cause of it is gonna vary by person, you know, because anxiety's crazy like that, and it's weird like that, you know. It varies so strongly by different people and what types of thoughts and things that go in. Like, you know, I can say for me, I do get definitely some social anxiety issues, and you know, even when I can put myself out there and engage with people and stuff and make myself do that, you know, there's always the common kind of social doubts of, you know, people aren't going to like me. People don't want to talk to me. I don't want to shove myself down people's throats and stuff like that. And so I feel that, you know, some people are going to have similar thoughts like that, where they, you know, they don't want to jump into the channel and talk to people and stuff because they're like, well, what if I speak out? And they already have, especially I think joining an existing guild can be a problem, because you look at it and you go, these people already have their circle. They already have these people they know and they like, and they have their thing and their rapport. And it takes a lot of energy for some people to really go like, hey, I'd like to join your group. And even though if they've already been accepted to the guild, to then jump in and go, okay, I'm in the guild, but I would like to join in your little circle and social group and stuff. For some people, it's a very vulnerable position to put themselves in, because there is a certain expectation that people will be like, why are you even bothering us?
Yeah, luckily, we're actually, for new members, we tend to be fairly kids gloves for the first week or two. But about after that, it's no holds barred. So like in a perfect situation of the person who didn't talk a lot, oh, well, we just turned around and made fun of them a lot because
what not to
they're
do.
going to get made fun of, whether they're going to get in chat or not. So we're just because we make fun of everybody. It is a no holds barred community, and everybody gives people crap. But that's, obviously we do it all in good fun. We're not trying to actually hurt anybody, but some people are definitely not well suited for our community, and we're not a community that is trying to be suited for everybody. So that if you're a larger crew like Velik, where you need to get into the introspective of how to get that many working pieces together and all those different personalities and stuff like that, that's a little bit more important. Whereas I'm a little bit we're more of always just trying to find our own. And so people come and go, but the ones that stick around for life.
Yeah, I would actually say to counter some of the comments and stuff, that I don't necessarily think that is an example of what not to do, depending on context, depending on how bad the ribbing is and stuff.
But I mean, that's the makeup of his group. That's how it is. So
yeah, most importantly, depending on whether or not they know to expect that. If you have an interview before they come in and go, look, we mess with each other all the time, and that's what we do. We pick on each other and stuff. And if you're cool with that, whatever. And then you start doing it, and they don't
feel like they're like everybody else.
Should leave.
Yeah, I warn everybody ahead of time. Everybody.
I was gonna say, if it's something they have no context for, then yeah. But
we're not big on surprises.
Forewarning.
Yeah. Actually, I think that Malice does something more helpful, which is to have face-to-face cookouts. And I believe, Velik, you have it as well. Meetings in FaceTime.
We've had a few in the past. We haven't had any recently.
I think those really help. I think those really help gel consistency, because we're visual people, and if you don't envision the group in acting in a moment, it's harder for you to put your place in it. So I think those are very helpful, believe it or not.
Okay, but doesn't that kind of bring in a whole new level of anxiety? We've gone from these people hearing my voice and my comments and the things that I have to say that, might be witty to me, but could be complete and utter, not what the group wants to hear at that particular time, to, oh my gosh, people are going to know what I look like. Or I'm really self-conscious about my look. I don't like my hair, or I don't like my weight, or I don't like my smile, or, my glasses and my braces. There's something about myself that I already don't like. And if I'm going to get into a group of gamers, which on the internet already have a reputation for zero filter, wouldn't that kind of add a whole new level of anxiety? How do you deal with that?
Totally. In fact, that's I would say that is the ultimate bridge to try to get people to come to the cookouts, because a lot of people are really good at being internet tough guys when they get to just hide behind a screen, play their pretty character, and run around and murder people in the face. Then they're like, haha, I validated myself. I'm awesome. Doesn't matter what I look like. Doesn't matter if I got a squeaky voice. It doesn't matter whatever. Yeah. I validated myself, and therefore everything's great. As soon as you're like, nope, now you got to show up at our cookout, and you got to drink some beer with us. You got to eat some sandwiches with us. Or, we actually have people who don't drink and are vegetarian and whatever like that. But, what I mean is, come and be part of that community and be very involved. And that is definitely a bridge that we're always working at a lot of people to try to tear down. That's what to do about that. It's always on the table. They always see the process every year. Everybody has a vote into where we're going to do our cookout. Everybody has ability to sign up. Everybody has input on what we're doing and the content that's going to be there, so that everybody and anybody can feel that they can get involved. And
Malice actually made a PowerPoint at his last one. PowerPoint.
Yes, I did make a PowerPoint. That is true.
I always approve of a PowerPoint.
And this is gonna not suck.
And bullet point I'm assuming, I think you've mentioned this before. Like, the cookouts aren't like strictly mandatory either.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I think that's the linchpin. If it's optional, I mean, obviously you want them to show up, but if someone's like absolutely,
I would
freaking out
say
over it, then
a quarter to a half of the guild at most shows up. I mean, a lot of people just aren't into that level of social interaction, or they don't want to travel. A lot of people just aren't travelers either. They just don't want to travel. Some people are, especially when you have to put someone on an airplane, and if they happen to be a little too overweight or anything like that, travel is difficult. It's like now all of a sudden it's costs more to fly, things like that. So I understand a lot of that, and doesn't mean I don't try to come up with solutions to try to get them there. If that is your roadblock, what can we do to get you there? Oftentimes we will throw money at problems like, hey, you can't make it, but you really, really want to be here, but you just can't afford it. Cool. We've thrown cash down on plane tickets and things like that to get people out here. So it's all about, and I feel that makes even a larger connection with people when you're willing to actually put money down, and like a significant amount of money, 100, 200, $250 to get someone out there just because you want to hang out with them. That validates them in many ways.
So something that Jemmy Chan brought up in chat was the idea of icebreakers for new people. Kind of that idea of a specific time, whether it's monthly, quarterly, however often you do it, where you're encouraging your guild to kind of enter into that and get to know you stage of things. What do you guys think about that? Is it something you do often, or does it borderline on that idea of I'm going to force you to socialize with people?
I've never done that. I mean, we've had like kind of like icebreaker kind of community meetings and stuff, and that are similar in that vein, but never specifically targeted towards the new member. But I actually like, even as you were mentioning that, I was like, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Like, as someone who has a little bit of social anxiety, it's like I don't actually know. Like, a part of me is actually kind of inclined to say, as like maybe because we make people do interviews when they come in and join the community, so I'm like, we already kind of make them do that, and I had considered like making a interview as more of a social event, but perhaps having them as separate things and doing like an interview, and then when they're in the community still kind of requiring them to show up to some kind of a social thing that's specifically about them, and about people meeting them, because while I do think that it's generally bad to force people into social situations if they have anxiety, that's like forcing them into other people's events and things. So I'm like, if you're kind of making them as a part of joining the community show up to a social event that's on their schedule, and it's there for whoever is available to show up and meet and talk to them and just get to know them a little bit, that could be a good thing.
See, for me, when I'm going to like normal events out in real life and stuff, if I know they're going to have like a meet and greet period, I will purposefully show up late. Or if they put it in the middle or toward the end, it's like, okay, sorry, I got to go poop. I'll be back whenever the heck this is over. That time when you go to church, for those of us that goes to church, it's like, hey, turn around and greet your neighbor. Nope, I ain't doing that. I'm just going to sit here in my chair and be antisocial. It's like, to me, that just doesn't work, but...
Well, I was thinking of it in terms of, the difference between like going to someone else's house for a party as opposed to being not really quite at your house, but being at a party that's being thrown specifically for you is a little bit different, I think, anxiety-wise for me. Now, it's still some people might have issue with it because, just anxiety is very different from person to person. But I feel like going to something that's specifically hosted for you is perhaps... Well, in some ways, it can be still anxiety inducing because that means they're kind of focused on you. Yeah. But like for me anyway, going to someone else's thing and just trying to intrude myself without being prompted and being like, they're talking and I'm like, let me just jump in on their inside jokes and stuff that are going on is very anxiety inducing. I joined a guild for Star Wars: The Old Republic like a year or so ago, and I joined their voice chat probably 4 or 5 times before I ever said anything besides hello, because they had so many like inside jokes and things they've had for years. They obviously going back and forth and
it's hard.
and just their own dynamic. And so I sat there and I was like, like no one tried to pull me in the conversation. I'm just sitting there like I have to just jump out and do it. It took me like 5 or 6 times before I finally was like, yeah, we can just jump in there and say something.
But I mean, that's a skill to have that, to know when that cue is, to be able to jump into a conversation, especially that you don't know. I mean, that's a skill that I find some people don't have or struggle with. If you can get it, you can, you can be the life of the party. But that's definitely a skill to have.
So I guess maybe the solution is to not necessarily make it mandatory, but maybe offer that as a thing. Like we would like to have a meet and greet type thing now that you're new and you're accepted, and have an event if you're okay with doing that. And maybe for a guild like Malice's, I could see that being more of a mandatory thing. Because I'm like, no, you're going to socialize with us.
Well, I mean, like I said, with the cook, and this is kind of address what Jimmy Chan was saying, is that she was like, so I got to go to a real place with these people who make fun of me,
and I'm like, real money.
Well,
nah.
but that's
you're paying for the privilege.
Right. You know, you got to pay for the privilege to get made fun of. But I would say that as a community, we're also a group that does more to back its individual members more than most people. I mean, crap.
You're backing off of your asshole statement from earlier.
No,
it's just
we're assholes to everybody else. But the only way assholes work when you're assholes to everybody else is you got to be lockstep internally. And inside, among the group, you know, hey, I know people that have paid people's rent. I know people that have help them out in all kinds of things. They swap equipment. You need a new mic or whatever like that. We'll get you a mic. There's always been this nice, very friendly relationship inside where sure we make fun of each other, we give each other hell, but at the end of the day, we're probably individually the people in my guild more have my back than potentially my family had when I was alive. Plague's kind of sales pitch is like, we're your new family, welcome to it. We're the crazy psychos in the corner, and the only people we get along with is each other.
I think a lot of communities that are successful in this particular area of things are the ones that kind of emulate that whole, as soon as we can see that you have found your place with us, whatever that looks like to you, you're one of us, and we will now protect you.
Yeah.
With everything that we've got. But you have to decide as a person, and that's the hard part. You have to decide that you are a part of us. The minute you do that, you truly are one of us, no matter what group. And there are groups out there, like, Velik brought up Star Wars The Old Republic the other day, those 1,000-person guilds that are just going for the numbers. You can decide you're a part of them all day long, but they don't give 2 shits about who you are. So I think some of the larger guilds struggle with that, but
yeah. And this wasn't one of those. I'm in one of those for PlanetSide too, and I actually joined because they're so big. Because I was like, I want some people to just join into groups on sometimes, but I don't really want to make like a social connection with these people I'm playing like once a week, maybe at best.
Yeah.
I don't want that level of commitment and engagement. I got my own community for that. That's too much. It's social anxiety. I was like, I don't want to have to feel pressured to talk to these people.
Brutex
I don't
with
like
the
them on that
level.
Thanks for the bits, Brutex.
Nice.
So Crest brought up something earlier. See, for us in our group, what we would do is help them feel comfortable. We'd go into a guild dungeon or a run and have everyone just royally screw up on something and goof off. And he's not kidding. I mean, we've spent hours wiping against a single boss on something, but everybody in the group was just laughing and carrying on and just having a really good time because it was just so stupid, and that can make people feel relaxed. Do you guys go out of your way to do that kind of stuff to try to help people in?
I don't feel I have to. I screw up on a natural basis. So
I can't say we've ever intentionally spent time failing on something.
I don't think it's intentional. I mean, no, but it's great. I mean, the less serious it is, I think the more
Yeah.
comforting and welcoming it is to other people, right?
Absolutely.
So
I was gonna say I do think it's a good notion though. Like the idea that you're taking the consideration
mhm.
to actually bring somebody in and try to show that to them to try to make that connection. I think is good.
What I've done in the past for the original topic to get people to kind of come out of their shell is that if they talk in Discord, usually you can kind of get like a little profile going on them, like what their interests are, their trigger points, what excites them, what angers them, and whatnot, and also who they talk to a lot in. And I find that sometimes to get them that initial chat is you have to start out small, like you have a one-on-one, like, hey, you're having trouble in the dungeon, how about I come in? Hey, join voice chat so it's easier for us to communicate what's going on. Then if you can get 2 of you in, then that's easy. You do that for a couple of weeks, and after that, like, have a third person come in that they're already friends with, or they talk a lot in Discord, and then that way kind of slowly start adding up, and then they get to the point where, let's say there's a voice channel with, let's say, 6 people, but they know 3 of those people. They're like, well, hey, you know what? I feel much more comfortable now speaking because I know 3 people there will get my back, right? Or not even get my back in the sense that they could be attacked, but they've already spoken to 3 of those people. So it's kind of like you go to a party, a small house party, and you see a group of 5 people talking, and 3 of those people. So your chances
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, your chances of kind of jumping into a conversation because some of those jokes, some of those inside jokes, you know what I mean? It's much easier. So it can kind of warm people up to the point where then they just jump in, all the time, right? So
yeah, one thing that I have not seriously considered, but considered briefly before that I wonder what people feel about is, one thing that gets done a little bit at certain workplaces and things, which is, the kind of assignment of a mentor, where like someone comes in, they join the organization and stuff, and you kind of pick somebody else within the guild or something to be their touch point. Like, if you have usually like for us, and the reason I haven't considered it too much is that's theoretically usually for us like their recruitment officer or whoever interviews them, so they already have talked to them.
Yeah.
But I can see value in having someone who's not like a leader, someone who's just a normal member of your guild,
A member at large.
Yeah, this is our member at large, or whatever, who's on all the time if you have any questions or whatever, and they're going to check in with you occasionally and just see how you're doing.
So we've talked a lot about that social anxiety of joining a gaming group. There are some people that never join a gaming group, but they get anxiety with new games coming out. It's just that idea of getting into a game. It has nothing to do with other people. It is purely just something that revolves around them and am I going to be able to do this game? Everyone else that I know is talking about this game. I'm not necessarily in a community. Is this stuff that you guys deal with? Have you encountered this kind of thing?
I can't say I have.
See, when I run into the opposite, which is that my guys, when you go, okay, so we're finally this game, we're locking in, this is what we're doing. Everybody goes into super build mode and is hyper obsesses about like, okay, so we need to get in beta. All right, so where are we building the houses? How are we doing this? What's the resource flow? How are we going to get the best gear quickly? How are we going to get to max level? Blah, 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 blah. And like by the time we launch, we have like our own book of how to get there and win. Like that's what my folks do. They're the hyper obsessive kind.
I will say the one thing I have seen is, and I've seen this mostly with MMOs, is a hesitancy to commit because people an MMO is a big time investment. So unless somebody's like really passionate about it, I have seen people like in our community where it's like we're thinking about getting into this game to have something to do. It's mainly on this line, and people are like,
"That's a different." Yeah.
Well, I don't, like I'll think about it. You get a lot of the "I'll think about it" because people don't want to just go like, "Yeah, I'll do it," and so that we have something to do. And it's like, come on, just.
Well, it's like one of my council members. Like he's like, "You all let me know once we finally get a game." Like we've pretty much left our cage and we're refugeeing around right now. Right now we're playing a little bit of Albion, playing some of our guys are playing Lost Oasis, and there's no cohesive lockdown until something worth the damn comes out. So yeah, we've got a lot of people who are just kind of, you let us know when you have a game locked in that we're going to go full bore on, and you'll see my guild go from like 10 people on to 50, 60, 80 people on, like.
We're in the same kind of snag too, where like we have groups of people playing small games. We're waiting for like the next big game we can all jump in on and begin that obsession that you were talking about, Malice, about like hyper examining different things and plotting out things without sometimes even the slightest knowledge. Like let's do this. Is it possible? I don't know. Well, if it is, we're gonna do it.
But I do think that's a good point to kind of bring up is, I think there's a difference in the approach that you can take, talking about some of the things we talked about earlier with having people in groups, bringing them into raids and stuff and failing in raids and helping to bond them with the guild and everything. There's a big difference in what you can do when you have a game that's live versus when you're in between games. Like I know a number of us have been kind of in between games for a while now.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of a different beast. Like we've been in between major games for so long that I don't even think immediately in terms anymore of like, oh, well, we can do this in game and do that. I'm like, oh, God, I can't even really think about that for like 2 years because we're waiting on Camelot Unchained and it's not going to be out this year.
Yeah. No.
we were ramping up on New World. We were thinking, all right, we were cautiously optimistic about New World. We're gonna check it out. End of August now.
Yeah.
Can't even get into beta to test it. So
we were very cautious. We kind of lightly stepped down, like, okay, we're excited, but we've been hurt so many times. We're just like, I told the guys, like, I ain't doing shit until like it's confirmed, and we're like 3 weeks away. Then I'm gonna go full ramp. Till then, my heart's been broken too many times. I just can't do it,
dude. I feel like I keep swiping on this dating app, and it's like, shitty date, shitty date, shitty date, catfished,
and that's just with you.
A lot of self-dating.
So Fox, you kind of bring up an interesting point with the idea of getting really, really close to release dates. We all get the jitters. We all get really, really super excited. And then lately, it's just been bam.
Yeah.
Does that create kind of a whole different feeling as now we're getting into other games where you're really trying to mute all of those feelings and then you feel like you can't actually get into the game?
The problem is, and this is I think a human trait, is that we get excited, and then when you're let down, a lot of people tend to get angry or upset. And then the problem is when that happens and we're all like in the chat watching the live stream together, and they're like, oh yeah, like Arcade, we're gonna delay it by a week, and we're all like, fucking shit, I booked vacation, blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden now this channel became very hostile because of nothing that anyone within that channel has said, but because of content or context that we've just been exposed to. And then all of a sudden it becomes not necessarily hostile, but you get, if you put a lot of angry people together in the same room, a fight's going to break out, even if they're friends. It could be something over fucking something stupid, but people will get fucking antsy, and start, arguing. And we had that happening. I remember for Arcade specifically, because some people took the second time it was delayed, they moved their vacation. They were able to, and then it got delayed again. And they're like, my boss told me to move it. And they got pissed off and they fucking left the community. Because they said, I'm not playing this game. I only came in the community for this game. I'm fucking out. And poof. And it was like, I mean, that sucks. But at the same time, too, you can't. Like, what do you do? So I said, guys, don't get excited. Yeah, it's.
It's real. The lead up to some of these games gotten pushed back so far. We used to have it was a thing for our community. We started guilds 2, 3, 4 years before a game came out, a year or two before beta, so that we could be ready. We could do all this social stuff before the game came out and get to know each other and be ready. So we didn't have that many people who were hiding in the rafters and afraid to engage with us because we've been together for ages for most of us. And now it's gotten to the point where that lead up is just getting pushed back so far with these games that we're we did eventually, even before we made some of our recent changes, we went, no, we're not until beta is at least a year out.
Yeah.
And we're real confident about that. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not touching it.
I guess you guys can like talk about things. Oh, you see the newsletter, or like, oh, this is kind of neat. Oh, this is kind of cool. Like, oh, I mean, we still do that kind of stuff too. But I mean, and I encourage that kind of talk because I find that if there's no game to talk about, then people start talking about like politics, or they start talking about like other things that could be more depressing or negative, and then that kind of
Or
begins
fight-worthy.
like, yeah, it's like, come on, we're a gaming community. I don't want to see that, stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I find that you do need to kind of still kind of poke the fire a little bit, like, oh, hey guys, ooh, like, and I'm really hoping for
Yep.
this Camelot Unchained, this testing
Keep a-
Battlefield to come out.
Keep a little carrot, just a little dangled over there. Yeah,
Remember, we're here for this. We're here for this, right? Don't fucking talk about your political or orientations or like your pro-life, anti-life, opinion, because it's going to end bad.
It
And
doesn't belong
does.
in a gaming group.
And it doesn't.
No.
That's not what we're here for. This is our escape.
We have like
Okay. I want to move on to the last
Yeah, I need
point
this thought.
of social anxiety with gaming that I had for this, and then we'll come back to the whole new world discussion and the next game and what that looks like. But social anxiety in your role within a game. So whether you're a tank or a healer, that's typically where we see social anxiety the most, is that anxiety to perform. What does that look like for you guys with your groups? How do you deal with it? How do you help people with it?
Give a perfect example. Like today, one of my guildies was having just fun running around and PvPing. And that PvP was not usually ending in their favor, but they were having fun. And I'm like, and they're like, hey, come out. I could use some help because I'm fighting 3 people. Well, he like ran off a couple of times while I was engaged in the 3 people, like just wandered off. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to sit here and get farmed. So I kind of got mad, actually. I'm just like, I waited for you. I did all this other stuff. And I basically just got killed 3 times in a row for no real reason and no gain. I'm out, and because I have a desire to want to be in a scenario where I want to win or have the potential of winning. And if I'm not in the potential of winning, which is even if it's 2v3, that's a fight. 3v1 is dying, it's not a fight, and so to me it's not fun, and so I get a little angry over that, and it's nothing long term, not like I'm mad at him or anything like that, but it's just the reality that I get that anxiety of I want to succeed, otherwise why am I doing this? Like I appreciate people who can just do things for the fun of it as opposed to do things for the success
ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the ways that you can help with that a little bit, because at least this is something that helps me, because I do inevitably in pretty much every MMO end up playing a tank. I always want to play something else. I always want to play a mage or I want to play an archer.
But
and
group needs a tank.
yet we need a tank. And
So
I'm always
No,
the
I'm
person.
playing one.
I'm the person who feels guilty if they're not helping. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be the tank. And I end up playing a tank as a main. And I think that what helps people, and I think this fits a little bit with what Cress was just saying in chat, is trying to provide the materials to make sure that people who are playing some of these roles feel as confident as they can in their ability to fulfill it. Because like I know going into a new MMO or going back to an old one that I haven't played in ages, like sometimes I've gone back to WoW and I haven't played or tanked in WoW in forever. And then people start talking about getting up groups and stuff. And I'm like, I don't feel like I remember how to tank in WoW because I haven't done it in like 2 years.
Oh, dude,
and I'm
it's
gonna
so
wipe
easy.
the group.
Look.
I'm not joining. But I start feeling anxiety over that because I'm like, I used to do it a lot, but I don't remember. It's been so long now. I'm gonna like wipe the whole group, and it's gonna be awful. And it's even gotten to the point now where, I mean, I was never like big into PvE, but I haven't done any like, raids or even like dungeons and that group dynamic that much in so long that now the idea of doing it causes me anxiety. because I feel like I'm going to wreck it for everybody. And so I think that having like maybe not tutorials, but having like the people who are really in charge of some of those groups and things in the guild, like your lead tank and stuff, who can put together some materials and lead some groups to sit down with people and go like, do you have any questions? Here are some of the new abilities coming out, and this is what we've seen them do, and this is how we've seen them work out, and guides for raids and stuff like that for some of the bosses and things like that. I think the more you can provide to help people get prepared and feel, or at least see if they want training, if they feel like they need training and stuff, like I'm more inclined to go and tank if someone sits me down and goes like, okay, I've done this before, we really need another tank, so I'm going to show you the ropes because you're new to this game. I'll be more inclined to go in and go, okay, I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing now, than if they're just like, here, just start this game and start tanking for us. I'm like, let me go read some guides. I'm like the person who will go and start looking up tutorials and stuff online and start reading stuff. Because I feel like the more prepared you can make them for some people, that's going to help.
Well, especially if you're the guild lead or the community lead, you get to also have that reputation of being the person to go to knows what's going on, so that's kind of why I tank too, is that I then can go, okay, I know when this fight is about to start. Therefore, when we walk up to it, I can go, hey guys, who doesn't know how this fight goes? Let me tell you if you don't know, as opposed to someone else tanking and they're just like, I hope y'all know what we're doing, and dives in, and you're like,
I hate that so much.
Or the stupid hunter decides to pull.
Yeah.
Or the little Lala fellow with a really giant ass that pulls everything from across the map.
Yeah.
That's good too.
And I think what really also helps is you do have to be obviously if you're in a really serious situation, you shouldn't have newbies in the group. If you're in the hardcore raid, you probably don't have newbies in there. But if you do have people who don't know the bosses and stuff, and you're showing them the ropes, I think showing them some leniency, being forgiving of mistakes and stuff is important too. Because I've been first time group with people and had them yell at me because I pulled something that I'm like, well, you didn't warn me about it or whatever, or I forgot. God, there's like 10 things going on in this fight, and I forgot about the stupid water spouts. I'm sorry. It just makes you not want to group with them again.
So tanks or healers or DPS? Who do you think has the most anxiety within a group?
Healers.
I'd say healers.
You are the blame. You are the blame if everything goes wrong, and you are not the hero if everything goes right.
It's probably healers, because that's the one class that I almost always refuse to play. I'm like, I'll tank for you. I am not healing. It's too much stress.
Yeah.
Potts is yelling at us saying it's healers. You're all assholes. All right.
Well,
it's also why at the end of any good successful fight, I will be like, fantastic healing, guys. Yeah, really good job. Because they need the acknowledgement, because I need them to show up. Otherwise, we're all dead.
It's a symbiotic relationship almost.
For me, there's sometimes no winning. Like, let's say in WoW, some people are even in EverQuest or some of these games. Like, let's say we would win the fight, we'd win the boss fight, right? Me as a healer, I would heal the tanks, I would heal the DPS, like some of the DPS, but usually it's the tanks. And let's say 1 or 2 DPS die. They always fucking die. They're expendable, right? But then they message me afterwards, like, dude, what the fuck, man? Why don't you fucking res me, man? I was out of that fight for like 3 minutes, and I was like, we still fucking won, dude. Like, shut up. Like, dude, man, like, I had nothing to do. Like, what the fuck, man? You healed so-and-so over me. It was like, dude, I was in the, like, come on, man. There's, like, people dying. Fucking, I'm casting spells. I picked the first person I saw dead, resurrected him, didn't see your name. Sorry. It's like, you always lose. Even when you win and you're a healer, sometimes you still get, like, the personal, like, dude, what the fuck? I thought we were tight, man. Why didn't you heal me? I thought I had pocket heals from you.
My favorite is when you get a DPS that is standing in something and they die, and then they're pissed off because you won't res them. And they're like, I wasn't standing in shit. It's like, dude, your body is in a pool of green shit. If I res you, you're going to die. Don't tell me you're not standing in shit. Potts is like having flashbacks right now. She's like, ah!
Oh, yeah. No, that's what it comes down to. Though, of course, I do yell at my healers when they're not being mobile and things like that, and they're getting too tunnel visioned and playing the whack-a-mole and not enough moving around the all the explosions and everything that are going around in the room and all the
Or
ground
they
effects that you
purposefully
use.
stay put because they're like, oh, our healers are really good. They're going to heal me through stuff.
Yeah.
Why didn't you heal me, you asshole? You're horrible at what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do that
we should
somewhat as a
probably have
tank
a healing.
sometimes, but yeah.
We should probably have a healing episode.
Do you guys feel that how developers make their games and how well they've developed the classes plays into the anxiety? As an example, something that Jay Carpenter 186 brought up. SOTOR. If you want to be a healer in SOTOR, you have to rely on something that is completely 100% outside of your control, being these little culto stations that are around all the boss fights. Walking into a boss fight, you know straight up that you as a healer are incapable of 100% healing a group at level difficulty without using these stupid culto stations, which are not a part of your tool belt. Do you feel that something like that plays into the anxiety of playing these classes, these games?
Oh yeah, that would. If I play that, yeah, that would give me anxiety because it's something I can't control. I hate that. I'm a control freak.
I mean, you have to run up and click them, but still.
Yeah.
See, when I first played through the game, there were no cultural stations, so our healers either had to learn to make it work or die.
Adapt or die.
Yeah. Those cultural stations are really only in there, in my opinion, because there was such a lack of healers in the game. And so if you don't have a lot of big healers, then you could still do the content. They're not, I never felt that they were intended to replace a full healer.
All right, guys. I think we're kind of at the end of our deal here. May 10 will be the next town hall. We'll see who makes it. Cress, hopefully you're not stuck behind a burning semi next time and can actually make it. This Tuesday night, we'll have the MMO grind with Malice and myself, and we might have a guest. We'll see if he's stuck behind a burning semi or not.
Yeah, isn't Cress supposed to be making that one too?
Lots of new content coming out. Please join the Discord. You can see the tab below the window here in Twitch. But all of the information is there. The schedule is posted on Twitch, all that kind of good stuff. Continue conversations in Discord. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming out. It was wonderful to have you here, and all of our new people. Thank you. Hope to see you again next time. Bye.
Later.
Take care.